Um, Beyond Survival: The Art of Thriving After Trauma. The first time I heard Judianne Horn speak, something shifted in the atmosphere. Here was a woman who had walked through fire, sexual assault, addiction, violence, loss, and emerged not just intact, but radiant. Not perfect, not without scars, but wholly unapologetically present. Her story isn't just about survival, it's about the radical act of reclaiming your life after the unimaginable. Judy doesn't just survive, she transforms pain into purpose with such fierce authenticity that everyone around her feels permission to do the same. She is quite simply a force of nature disguised as a human being. What struck me most about Judy wasn't just what she survived, but how she transformed survival into an art form. She embodies what we explore on the Soft Girl Era podcast, that journey from constantly grinding in survival mode to finally grounding in authenticity, in joy, in peace. Have you ever noticed how we glorify resilience without honoring the cost? We celebrate the comeback without acknowledging the fall. We praise strength without making space for the breaking. We hand out medals for endurance while whispering, just keep going, to those who desperately need permission to rest. Today, I want to share three profound truths I learned from my conversation with Judianne Horn. Truths that might just change how you view your own story, your own pain, your own possibility. First truth: survival is possible, no matter how deep the trauma. Second, your past does not define your future. And third, resilience isn't just about toughness, it's about owning your truth without shame or apology. Let's start with that first truth: survival is possible, even after experiencing unimaginable pain. We live in a world that often silences survivors. We're told to, well, get over it, to, to move on, to keep our pain private. But what if our survival stories are actually our superpowers? What if the very things that threaten to destroy us are precisely what equip us to help others find their way through darkness? Consider Judianne Santos Agoncillo, a multi awarded actress who faced intense public scrutiny while raising children in the limelight. Coming from humble beginnings as a child star, she endured early criticism that would have crushed many spirits. But instead of hiding from setbacks, she leaned into them. She diversified her skills, becoming both an entrepreneur, opening successful restaurants, and a brand endorser. She transformed from being just an actress to a businesswoman who inspired Filipinas balancing motherhood with professional ambitions. Her ventures thrived even during industry downturns. What's remarkable isn't just her success, but how she refused to let public perception define her worth. She owned her narrative unapologetically, much like Judianne encourages us all to do. She didn't just survive the scrutiny, she used it as fuel to expand her vision of what was possible. But survival isn't just about making it through, it's about what you do with what tried to break you. It's about the alchemy of turning wounds into wisdom, trauma into testimony, pain into purpose. This brings me to the second truth from Judianne: your past does not define your future. We all carry histories, some heavier than others: family secrets, broken relationships, addictions, incarcerations, tragedies that seem to write the end on chapters we weren't ready to close. But what if those periods and full stops were actually just commas, pauses before the story continues in directions we never imagined possible? What if the darkest chapters of your life are not conclusions, but rather the soil from which something entirely new can grow? Judy Jai knows something about this. Known for sharing her personal struggles openly on platforms like Instagram, Judy faced mental health battles made worse by social media scrutiny. She dealt with physical health crises that threatened both her career stability and self worth. But instead of curating a perfect image online, she chose radical authenticity. She spoke candidly about what she endured. The result? She built deeper connections with followers who saw their own stories reflected in hers. She sparked conversations around healing within Black communities online. Early fame brought pressures to conform, but it also gave Judy tools for advocacy when confronting stigma around mental illness among Black women. She used her platform not just for entertainment, but for activism around wellness, collaborating on projects highlighting real life recovery journeys. Her example reminds us that our darkest chapters can become bridges to others still finding their way through similar darkness, that our scars, when shown with intention, become maps that help others navigate their own healing. This is what Judianne Horn embodies: the courage to stand in your full story, to pursue new beginnings regardless of age or circumstance, to build a career across multiple fields, even to start fresh on another continent if that's what your soul requires. But here's where many of us get stuck: we survive, we even rebuild, but we do it quietly, apologetically, as if our very presence is an imposition on the world, as if taking up space with our truth is somehow selfish or unnecessary. Which brings me to Judy third truth: resilience isn't just about toughness, it's about owning your truth without shame or apology. She calls it being aggressive as a turtle, standing in your experience boldly while also embracing empathy for yourself and others. It's not about hardening yourself against the world, it's about softening into your authentic power. It's about moving forward steadily, protected by boundaries, but never losing your capacity for connection. The ISU Papajon Center understands this kind of resilience. They support entrepreneurs, including many first generation students from marginalized backgrounds who face repeated setbacks before achieving success. Many participants encounter financial hardship or discrimination that threatens their ability to stay enrolled or launch startups. Traditional business incubators often overlook emotional recovery after failure, a barrier especially acute among underrepresented groups. But the Papa John Center offers mentorship programs focused specifically on building resilient skills, encouraging founders to leverage failure stories as assets rather than liabilities. The results speak for themselves. Participants report higher rates of graduation and business formation compared to peers without such support systems. Alumni have gone on to win pitch competitions statewide, and some now mentor others through similar storms. This institutional example reinforces what Judianne teaches. Survival is not just individual, it requires community infrastructure willing to see value in every comeback story. It requires spaces where vulnerability is seen not as weakness, but as the birthplace of innovation, connection, and lasting change. In the soft girl era, we're learning that true strength isn't about carrying everything alone. It's about knowing when to put down the cape, when to ask for help, when to rest without explanation. For too long, especially as Black women, we've been told that our value lies in our capacity to endure, to push through, to make a way out of no way. And yes, that resilience is magnificent. But at what cost? At what point does survival mode become a prison rather than a strategy? Judy Horn's journey reminds us that there is life beyond survival mode. There is thriving, there is joy, there is purpose that doesn't require perpetual sacrifice. There is a way of being in the world that honors both what you've endured and what you're becoming. So, what does this mean for you? What would it look like to not just survive your story, but to thrive because of it and despite it? Judianne challenges us to do three things differently. First, speak honestly about pain instead of burying it. When we share our stories, we create permission for others to do the same. We break the isolation that trauma creates. We remind each other, you're not alone in this. Second, pursue new goals regardless of age or circumstance. Your past may contain chapters of addiction, incarceration, violence, or loss, but your future remains unwritten. Education, career changes, relocations, new relationships all remain possible at any stage of life. And third, support survivors' voices with action, not pity. In your workplace, in your family, in your community, amplify the voices of those who have endured, not as objects of charity, but as bearers of wisdom we desperately need. When I asked Judianne how she wants people to feel after hearing her story, she said, seen, even if they've never shared their darkest moments out loud before, and emboldened enough afterward to take up space, rewrite old narratives, ask hard questions unapologetically, and love themselves fiercely through every chapter. This is the heart of the soft girl era. Not weakness, but the strength to be soft in a world that taught you only survival, the courage to rest without explanation, the wisdom to set boundaries without apology, the freedom to heal in real time, messy and beautiful and true. I want to leave you with this challenge. Tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and ask yourself one question. What would I do today if I believed my story? All of it was actually my superpower. Would you speak up in that meeting? Would you finally write that book? Would you reach out to someone still trapped in the pain you've survived? Would you forgive yourself for what wasn't your fault? Would you finally give yourself permission to rest, to celebrate, to take up space without apology? Your survival is already miraculous, but you're thriving? That's revolutionary. That's the legacy you build, not just for yourself, but for everyone watching you rise. So rise, not despite your story, but because of it. Rise with the full weight of your experience. Rise with your scars visible. Rise with boundaries firm and heart open. Rise like Judianne Horn, unapologetically present, radiantly authentic, aggressively gentle with yourself and others. Because in a world obsessed with resilience, the most radical act might be showing how you broke and rebuilt yourself, not into who you were before, but into someone entirely new. Someone who knows that survival was never meant to be the end of the story, but merely its powerful beginning.